Ideally, if we can get a third land drop for a Biting Grace, then we definitely have now the insurance we need to survive. Okay, well, I guess we couldn't be too greedy either, but that's okay. But Johnny. Gain more energy.
I will prove my worth to my
Oh, this is the dream right here. This is exactly how you want this deck to go. We swing here. We will pump the Ocelot Pride for more power and life. Up to 25. They're down to 12. Oh, man. We're actually one away from going from ascending. Oh, wow. Hello, my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with the hottest in budget deck technology. And for today's deck tech, as we take now the time to move away from Duskmourn and look to the future, that is MTG Foundations coming very soon, I decided now is the best time to look towards the most powerful format in Arena, since we haven't played in that one for a little while. This today is going to be the deck that we're playing, a deck that's based on the most powerful deck in the format that I am simply calling Timeless Ascend. But before we continue, if you do like any of the content that I do, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you watch the content. You can support me monthly for a small amount on Patreon, where I have all of my extended bonus footage posted. We also have a Redbubble spot where you can buy merch like stickers and shirts, or for free, all you can just do also is just join our growing community on Discord. Your support helps keep this channel going. All links are in the details below. Longtime viewers of the channel know how we do it. We have to talk about the stats of the deck before we dive right in. So as you can see, our Ascend deck today is simply mono white. We're looking at an average mana curve of about 1.5, and you're looking at total 28 creatures in the deck, 7 instants, 9 enchantments, and only 16 lands. As mentioned earlier, this is mostly going to be trying to mimic the most powerful deck, which was Boros Energy for Timeless. However, in order to make sure that we maintain the budget as tight as possible, we kind of shifted this simply to mono white and mostly focus on the most key cards from that deck to then score our victories against our opponents. But you may be asking now, how did we manage to pull off a budget this tight using only just some of the most smaller and weaker cards in Timeless?
Good question!
Well, I'm glad you asked. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's talk about these cards. Starting in the 1-drop slot, we'll have what kicks off our game plan here, Leonin Vanguard. It's a cat soldier, it's a 1/1. At the beginning of combat on each turn, if we control 3 or more creatures, it'll get a +1/+1 pump, and also will gain 1 life. That life gain is going to be very important for our next card here, which is the star of the show, Ocelot Pride. This here, of course, is going to be a 1/1 white cat creature with first strike and lifelink. It also has the Ascend mechanic. And it says, at the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, you get to create a 1/1 white cat creature token. Then, if you have the city's blessing for each token you control that entered this turn, you can create an additional token that's a copy of it. In order to get the city's blessing, you'll need to make sure you have 10 or more permanents to get that ability. And that, of course, is going to be the reason why we need this card out ASAP, to just make a giant army of cats. To trigger off that life gain as much as possible, we will have the one and only Soul Warden. Anytime a creature enters, whether it's ours or our opponents, we'll get to create 1 life, and it's going to be very helpful to just keep us stable throughout the whole match. We're also going to utilize Guide of Souls here, because this will allow us to also gain 1 life, and also will gain 1 energy. Woo! This card is insanely powerful with Ocelot Pride. You basically get to create a flying kitty when it swings, guaranteeing that damage will go through, and of course it just keeps pumping up our whole team, getting us bigger and bigger, and hopefully can overrun our opponent. Now we are going to need, of course, to make sure we trigger off the city's blessing ASAP, so we do need cards that can create tokens for us, which is why we have Thraben Inspector, and we have Novice Inspector. Both of these enter, they help us investigate, i.e. they create a clue token for us, which we can sometimes also use in a pinch if we need to, of course, draw an additional card. Of course, one of our stars of the show in the 2-drop slot is our other final creature, which is going to be Ajani Nakado Pariah here. So we have to talk about this card for just a moment. So Ajani Nakado Pariah is a cat warrior. It's a legendary creature. It's a 1/2, and when it enters, you get to create a 2/1 white cat warrior creature token. Whenever 1 or more other cats you control dies, you can then exile Ajani and transform him into his Planeswalker form. In the Planeswalker version here, it has 3 loyalty to start. You can tick it up for +2 to give every one of your cats a +1/+1 counter. You can also hit the 0 ability to create another white cat warrior creature token. And if we do, however, if we control a red permanent other than Ajani, you get to deal other damage equal to the number of creatures we control to any target. Granted, we don't really have any red permanents in there, so we don't worry about that too much, except for just making tokens. If you get to its ultimate ability, which is a -4, that means that each opponent chooses an artifact, a creature, and an enchantment and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, then they have to sacrifice the rest. So this can be a slow but pseudo wrath if we need to in a pinch later on in the game. Circling back over to the 1-drops for the non-creature support, we will have Static Prison here. You've probably seen this card if you played this in Timeless quite a bit against Boros energy decks, but basically it's just our spot removal for us. You may not look like you're going to have enough energy, but with the energy we can produce from Guided Souls, this shouldn't be a problem to hold on to for the remainder of the game. Going now into the 2-drop slot, we'll also have Case of the Gateway Express here. This, of course, is going to be additional spot removal, but this is just to pick off something once we start going wide. And, of course, it creates for us a nice little buff once we swing with enough creatures to give us a +1/+0 pump. Even though this is technically also a land, Razorgrass Field can also be an ambush, where we can also utilize it as spot removal in a pinch. And then finally, in the 3-drop slot, we will have Abiding Grace here. This is one of those cards I absolutely love, so let's talk about this card for just a moment. Abiding Grace here is in a 3-mana enchantment that reads, at the beginning of your end step, you choose one. You can either gain 1 life, or return target creature card with a mana value of 1 from your graveyard to the battlefield. As you see, with the exception of Johnny himself, every one of our creature cards is a 1-drop, so this can easily bring stuff back, so it's going to be very hard for our opponent to get rid of this card, or at least our creatures if nothing else, as long as this sits out longer and longer. And then finally, our last card in the 3-drop slot will be Charge the Mites here. Again, it is additional removal because we want to be as redundant as possible in this deck, but if we don't need it, we can also just make 2 Phyrexian Mite creature tokens just again to flood the board. As far as the land base is concerned, it's again, as always, as simple as can be because this is a budget deck. You're looking at 12 planes, which does look low, but remember again, the Razorgrass Ambush here is counted as a land. And finally, a full set of Shefet Dunes here. Usually the paying the 1 life to add 1 white mana isn't really a big deal for us since we have a ton of life gain, and if we do need to in a pinch, you sacrifice this and pay 4 to then pump your whole team if you just need to finish off your opponent. For those of you out there who are interested in taking this into best of 3, here's going to be your options for the sideboard. Since we are very low to the ground in mana, we're going to go with the free spell of Tormod's Crypt here for your Graveyard Hate. You're also going to rock your Cleric class here. This can help us give some more longevity to your deck as again you keep gaining life, and if you can pump this up to level 2 and 3, you'll get a ton of extra +1/+1 counters to make your creatures a little bit bigger and a little bit more resilient against some of our opponents. If you're trying to stop your opponents from comboing off or controlling the board, use Deafening Silence here to bring those in to slow them down. Since we're mostly a creature deck, this really won't affect us all that much. Brave the Elements here is going to be our catch-all spell for protection for our whole team, and if we just want to finish off our opponent, we just gain protection from a specific color, and hopefully we should be able to close out the game quickly. For your Artifact and Enchantment Hate, we'll use Fragmentize here. Again, it's a 1-drop here because we want to keep the board as cheap as possible, and most of the artifacts in Timeless tend to be very low to the ground. If we do need to flood the board a little bit, and also we do need some incremental life gain here, Carrot Cake here is a cute little card here that actually can do quite a bit just for 2 mana. If we have to deal with a lot of spot removal, we'll have an extra copy of Abiding Grace right here. If you still need a little bit more beyond even Abiding Grace, we'll throw in a single copy of Dewdrop Cure here. If we gift a card to our opponent, we can bring up to 3 target creature cards with a mana value of 2 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. And if you just don't gift it, you can still get 2, which is a pretty good rate for 3 mana. But now that we have the whole deck tech out of the way, we have to of course ask the major question. Is it possible to make this budget version of an energy/go wide strategy work in the most powerful format in Arena?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Well, there's only one way to find out, so let's go ahead, let's take this into Timeless. Let's see how it handles itself against the most powerful meta decks in the format to see how well it does. Alright, my fire friends, here we go. Can we ascend in Timeless? Well, the good news is we do have at least a couple of cards that will help us gain some life. We have some removal, but we also kind of have, awkwardly, some lands that are going to hurt us a lot. But that's okay, because we gain a ton of life back. That should be fine, right? With that, let's go ahead, let's play. We're going to have to bolt ourselves here just a moment. Soul Warden. Alright, opponent, what do you got? Show me what you got. Bloodstained Mire. Mishra's Bauble. Alright. Some kind of sacrifice deck. I'm not sure. If they draw a card. We draw a card, Abiding Grace. Alright, so let's see. Okay, so unfortunately, we'll bolt ourselves again here, but that's okay. So, Thraben Inspector. Opponent, do you sack your land? They do not. We gain some life. We'll get to investigate to make a clue token. Leonin Vanguard. So the good news is at least we kind of can get some of our life back. So this is actually nice. Our opponent already is going to Bloodstained Mire, Shock. Will they hurt themselves with a Shock Land? They do. So I'm guessing Fatal Push. Every time. It's always in the opening hand, everybody. Always in the opening hand. Alright, so we don't get any more life, but that's fine. As long as we can just maintain with our Abiding Grace, if we can get a 3rd land, we should be able to just bring back Soul Wardens, and that should cause some problems for our opponent. We didn't get our land drop, but that's fine. So I think Johnny, do you have any counters or removal, opponents? Spell Snare. Yay. Alright, so it's basically a control deck that we're fighting against, but we're going to try The good news, at least Timeless, is everyone is not afraid to shock themselves just to get ahead. All right, all we just need, again, if we can get at least one land, we should be okay. All right, blue to Delta. But that does help us close the gap a little faster than we'd like. Okay, so they discard a card, they draw a card. Loot in the way. Oh, we did get our next land drop. Okay, so this now puts us in an interesting spot here. So I think Plains. Actually, we probably might want this gone. So let's put Static Prison down now. Exile their fear of missing out. Okay, that's off the field. We do get some energy now. We swing. We're down to 11. Okay, so we're not going quite as wide as we'd like to so quickly, but that's fine. Our opponent is not exactly putting up a big fight right now. I'm guessing they're just building themselves up. Okay, an island. And pass. Okay, they brainstorm again. So one quick point of advice, everybody. If you're going to brainstorm, you ideally want to brainstorm and then crack your fetch land. This way, again, you can then reshuffle and then get the cards you want. Doing it this way kind of puts you in an awkward spot because, say like your opponent here, they draw some stuff, but they don't want certain things. They're just going to draw it anyway. Oh, actually, they did get Bloodstained Mire, so I guess that kind of works out for them, but that's fine. Mishra's Bauble again. That Nether Goyf seems a little scary, but we can still find a way around it. Opponent's going to get a peeky peek at our cards, but we can also clue away, so they won't know our next card. All right, they go down to 9. All right, wow, down to 7. And they brainstorm after the fetch? All right, opponents, I mean, you do you. Not gonna tell you how to play the game, but okay. All right. Psychic Frog. All right, so little froggy friend is now gonna see if they can try to get big with it. But the good news is we have still ways to get around even the Psychic Frog. We'll draw our card by sacrificing our clue. Okay, so it is another Johnny, which is nice. We draw another card. Okay, so we got Ocelot Pride. This is actually pretty nice. We pay. Do this now, since they're already tapped out. Johnny. It does trigger. We'll get the life gain from Leon and Vanguard, which is nice. There we go. Life gained. We won't swing, obviously, and we just kind of let everything kind of just go off here. There we go. Now we're back in this fight. All right. We did ascend, everybody. Mission accomplished. If we can get down probably our Abiding Grace next turn and just start bringing back our Soul Warden or whatever they blow up, we should actually be in a really, really good spot here. Here, missing out again. All right. Now, as long as we can get something that can just pump up any one of our creatures and fly over them, we should be good to go. All right. Oh, into Phoenix. Interesting. Interesting. The only way they're going to prevent anything from happening now is they're going to have to fly over us. But if at least one of our cats dies... Oh, our opponent just kind of gave up already? Oh, opponents. We still had enough time to play. Oh, well. I mean, I guess I'll take the win. So, yay. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. Can we ascend in Timeless? Well, the good news is we do have exactly what we need here to start getting all of our tokens off, but will our opponent allow us to do it? We'll find out right now. Thankfully, we have 3 lands, so we got everything we need. We have some removal here. We have Charger Mites we need to refuel, or at least start gaining more energy. Opponent. All right, Swamp down. Nothing else. Got it. Plains, and we will put down Guide of Souls. Opponent, what do you got? What you playing? All right, another Swamp. Gifted Etherborn. All right. A little scary, but that's fine. We can get around that. Ocelot Pride. Gain some life. Gain some energy. Static Prison. We'll get rid of that Gifted Etherborn. Go swinging. Let's see. I guess we'll just do it now. Actually, no. Hold on. We'll wait. Down to 19. Make a token. Gain some more energy. We want to at least have a little bit of energy on the back end in case we do lose things. Ooh, stop a little shit. Slasher. A little scary, but we can still get around that. So let's see. How do we do this here? Actually, I think what we're going to do here is we're going to swing. Pump it. Gain life. It's now a 3/3 flyer. Alright. We gain some life there. And we'll end. We get the energy back. Okay, so I know what our opponent is going to try to do here with the Slasher. So, here comes Bloodletter. And then here's how we do this. So, they think they have us, but we have, of course, a little trick up our sleeve here.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
Alright, so with that, we will charge the Mites, deal damage. We will take out... Do we take out the Slasher, I guess? Yeah, I guess we do. Slasher down. It has 2 stun counters. Oh, and there you go. Our opponent was like, well, I can't take my little combo out there. Got him. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. Can we ascend in the timeless format? Well, the good news here is you can see we have the lands. They are going to be a little painful, but that's fine because we have plenty of ways of gaining that life back. So I think we can keep this. I think we can get away with this. All right, with that, Shuffit Dunes first. We'll play our Guide of Souls. All right, Pano, what do you got? Tap land. Okay, so that does give us now time. Okay, 3 life here. Leonin Vanguard. Gain some energy and some life. Onslaught Pride. Alright, so this is more or less what you want to get. Start going wide here, gain that life back, start swinging, do a little damage. We gain some more life here. Alright, not too bad. 4 creatures by turn 2.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Ideally, if we can get a 3rd land drop for Abiding Grace, then we definitely have now the insurance we need to survive. Okay, well, I guess we couldn't be too greedy either, but that's okay. But Johnny. Gain more energy.
I will prove my worth to my
Oh, this is the
pride.
dream right here. This is exactly how you want this deck to go. We swing here. There we go. We will pump the Onslaught Pride for more power and life. Up to 25. They're down to 12. Oh, man. We're actually 1 away from ascending. So close, but that's okay. Oh, wow. Our opponent didn't even put up a fight there, so I guess that's kind of how you want the deck to go. Not a super exciting match, but you can see right there, this is exactly what you want the deck to do. Yes, I did have some fun with that match. All right, my fire friends, here we go. Can we ascend in Timeless? Well, the good news is we have a little bit of removal. We have a Johnny in the early game in charge of the mites to kind of help us go wide. I think this should be okay. We do have 3 lands, which is great. We're a little bit slow in the early game, but it looks like our opponent had a Fable Passage, so that does buy us some time. Put our first planes down, and we'll pass. We have 2 of Johnnies. Not ideal, but it's fine. If they had blow up 1, I guess we just play the other one. All right, there you got it. Island. Opponent, what do you got? What are you playing? Bloodstained Mire. All right, looks like it's another Grixis deck, I believe, maybe. Swamp. God Erasure. No! Annoying, but we do have double copies of our cards, so whatever they throw away, they throw away. Okay, 1 of Johnny down. We still have another. Surgical Stratton.
Boo! You stink!
Well, unfortunately, there goes our game plan there, partially. But we do get... Alright, so Thraben Spectre's out. So with that, I guess we'll play Thraben Spectre. Unfortunately, our opponent still knows our game plan here, so we're just going to have to wait it out a bit. Hopefully, we'll draw into some more action. Okay, Field of Ruin. That doesn't really hurt us all that much, so our opponent playing that is fine. Ashiok. Alright, so milling begins. But again, we're not a graveyard deck primarily. Oh, jeez. Ouch. Those hurt. Okay. We'll still be able to recover, everybody. Don't worry. Shuffit Dunes. We will... I guess we'll just swing directly. Pass here. So Ashiok is just going to start milling our deck. They can only get so many copies out, so we'll just let it do its thing. Trying to attack it, though, might be a bit of a trap, so I'm going to try not to. Charge of Mites. We will make 2 little mites. Alright. Okay, so at least we have some threats now. Actually, I think we could probably put down Static Prison at this time. So Ashiok cannot exile anything else for at least a couple turns. This buys us some time. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Sacrifice the clue, draw a card. Okay, well, we got another land. I guess it's fine. We have plenty of planes, so this is not a problem for us. Down to 13. They get some poison. Put down Novice Inspector. Investigate again. Okay. I don't know if they have a Wrath, so it is a little risky the way I played that, but that's fine. I think we can still get around that. We have a Charge of the Might still waiting in the wings. This backup one. Okay, so nothing yet. We pay 1 energy. Lanes again. And we swing. Opponent, do you have an answer? Fatal Push. Annoying. But that's okay. We can gut around that still. Still on the 10. So our go white strategy is sort of working. I mean, we're already halfway there. As long as our opponent doesn't have any more removal or anything, but we'll see. Tasha's the there. Okay. So they are actually just a mill deck. So that's fine. This gives us now a chance to just do this. Sacrifice the clue, draw a card. Leonin Vanguard's okay. So unfortunately that hit us a lot, but that's okay. At this point, case the Gateway Express. We can't really do much of anything with that, but that's okay. We'll make another clue if we have to draw a card in a pinch. Swing here. Down to 5. We pump up everything. Okay, opponents, this is it. You have to mill us out right here, right now. 16 cards. Did they do it? Jeez, they actually did it.
Well, this stinks.
Mill, for some reason, always gets me. I don't know how they do it, but they somehow do. Man, we came close, though. They didn't put up much of a fight, but their milling was just enough because we were very low to the ground. And there you have it already. So that was our Timeless Ascend deck for you in the Timeless format. And you tell me in the comments below, what do you think? Would you play this deck in any way, shape, or form? I truly think this is a great budget deck to get you into the most powerful format in Arena without having to spend a ton, or at the very least, this is a great entryway into a much more powerful deck that we'll talk about in just a moment. But of course, even at budget level, and of course in just a best of one, there are of course going to be some things that I do want to caution you on if you do want to play this deck. Your biggest weakness, of course, is if your opponent has a ton of Wraths, or if they're comboing off faster than you can build up your board, you're sadly gonna have a bad time. But I wouldn't take that away from this deck. Remember, again, we're utilizing this as a base to get you into Timeless with the, of course, upgrade path that you're gonna see in a moment that can really, really power up this deck. But of course, if you do like the deck and you do like what it's trying to do, then I think you know what's going to happen right now. For those of you who have spent this far into the video, you, of course, are my true fiery friends. And because of that, you're going to get to see what I would recommend for you to make this deck even more stronger than it currently is. As far as the upgrades to the deck, let's just pull the band-aid off right now. Literally, the only upgrade that you're going to want to push this into is going to be Boros Energy, which is, of course, one of the best decks currently in Timeless. So keep that in mind if you do actually want to invest a lot of rares and mythics into the tier 1 deck. But realistically, let's just briefly talk about why this is so powerful. So you already have the core that you saw earlier from your mono white cards, but we're going to of course splash into red to then make this even more stronger. So Galvanic Discharge as extra removal here, but also you can then save up some of the extra energy to give it to Guide of Souls or to pump up other things. You'll of course throw in Lightning Bolt for additional removal and it's instant speed, so it's faster. A full playset of Ragavan here to put immediate threatening 1-drops onto the board with the addition of course of Ocelot Pride and Guide of Souls. You'll have Amped Raptor here, which is an insanely powerful card that's cracked out, and honestly this is just going to help you get most of the time a free card out of your deck for practically nothing. So that's of course got to be in here. Flage is going to be helpful here for initial spot removal, but honestly you can utilize this as a finisher because you can not only stabilize with it, but also it does a massive amount of damage once it starts Lightning Helix the whole board against your opponent. Yes, I know some of you may hate it, but we have to have the One Ring. It is part of the deck and it is essential just to help us keep drawing through our deck, churning to what we need just to get what we have out immediately. Since this is designed in a very specific way, you can roll Chingatha here for free in the sideboard here. It will basically cost you nothing, so it's of course essential. Your land base is going to be, as expected, as upgraded as possible here, so throw in the shock lands here, and the other dual lands that you can pull out with fetch lands, because remember, this is Timeless, so you do have access to fetch lands to give you more value out of your deck. Now, if you do want to take this to best of 3, here's going to be your best options for you. So Ohm's Chant here is just basically to prevent your opponent from casting spells for a turn. You can also kick it so then to make sure they can't attack, giving you basically a free turn against them. Drannith Magistrate here to prevent our opponent from casting spells from anywhere other than the hand, so they can't get cheeky with us if they exile cards. Thraben Charm here just does a little extra spot removal, destroys an enchantment if we need to, or then we can then utilize it to then exile some cards from an opponent's graveyard. To prevent opponents from comboing off, we have Dampening Spear here, just a single copy because it doesn't happen too often in this format. Same thing with additional graveyard hit, we'll have Ghost Vacuum here if we want to do a slow roll of it, but also you can utilize its ultimate ability to bring everything back as a 1/1 spirit on our side of the field. If you are dealing with a lot of stuff that's gumming up the board, maybe an enemy version of Boros Energy, you want to bring in Goblin Bombardment here to sacrifice your board and eventually ping them out to get to your victory. I honestly threw in a single copy of Imodane's Recruiter here because honestly, I think this card is a really surprise hit because a lot of people don't expect when this enters to just pump up your whole team to give you a little extra power to close out the game. So keep that in mind. I think this card is actually highly underrated even in the Timeless format. And then finally, if you want to turn off of course, your opponent's abilities to make sure that you can push through damage, we have Fear Fire Foes here just to make sure that even if you don't cast it for X amount, it still works very well just to make sure that we can get through with our damage. But with that all out of the way, here are my final thoughts that I want to give on the deck. Overall, Mono White has actually gotten quite powerful over the course of time since I've been playing on Arena, and honestly I'm really happy with how it's going. You have a ton of different ways of mixing and matching, so even if you don't want to go on full Boros energy, you can go for more of the classic Mono White builds, where you can go into Angels, or you can just focus on going wider, or you can go focusing on going bigger. You really have a lot more options than you actually may perceive. But of course, for those of you out there that are just trying to get to the tier deck, Boros Energy is the way to go, and this is honestly the best deck to do it with. To put it another way, if you're a fan of go wide strategies, if you're a fan of the energy mechanic, and if you're a fan of having explosive turns that overwhelm your opponent out of nowhere, then I would definitely say give this deck a try. And I assure you, when you manage to get your victories out with only using 12 rares in the most powerful format, you're going to have a lot of fun doing so. You'll be very surprised at how well it can pull it off. And when you get your victories and eventually upgrade into the tier 1 deck, you will definitely be very happy you had a roadmap to it, and you will not be disappointed. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later!